Hey, wonderful people. Welcome to DA Tales. Today's story starts 1 week after a father's funeral when a stepmother changes the locks and tells her stepson, "You get nothing," and ends with him calmly showing her the deed his dad signed before he died, giving her 24 hours to leave his house and watching her walk out with nothing but a suitcase. Let's get into it. I, 31 male, buried my dad 9 days ago. Stage 4, pancreatic cancer. He fought for 14 months, and I was there for every chemo session, every hospital visit, every 3 a.m. emergency run. My stepmom? She redecorated the living room. Let me back up. My dad married her 6 years ago. I was skeptical from day one. She was 38, he was 54, and she had this way of looking at our family home, like she was mentally calculating square footage. But Dad was happy after Mom passed, so I kept my mouth shut. For 6 years, I watched her slowly isolate him from old friends, convince him to upgrade everything in the house with her taste, and treat me like an unwanted house guest whenever I visited. She'd make comments like, "Must be nice to visit. Some of us actually live here full time." As if I wasn't working 60-hour weeks at my engineering firm while still driving 2 hours every weekend to see my dying father. When Dad got his diagnosis, something shifted in him. He started having private conversations with me during his hospital stays. Told me things he'd never said before, about how she'd been pushing him to add her name to the house deed, about the prenup she'd been trying to get him to dissolve, about the life insurance policy she kept reminding him to update. "Son," he said during one of his lucid moments, about 3 months before he passed, "I made some mistakes, but I'm not making one with that house. Your mother and I bought it when you were 2 years old. It's yours." 2 weeks later, while she was at some spa weekend with her sister, Dad had his attorney come to the hospital. I didn't know the full details then, but I signed some papers as a witness. Dad squeezed my hand after. "It's done," he said. "Whatever happens, the house is protected." He passed on a Tuesday. The funeral was that Saturday. She played the grieving widow perfectly. Black dress, tasteful tears, accepting condolences with practiced grace. I was too numb to care about her performance. I went back to my apartment that night. Needed space to process. Told her I'd be back in a week to help sort through Dad's things. Exactly 7 days later, I drove back to my childhood home, pulled into the driveway, walked up to the front door. My key didn't work. I tried again. Nothing. Looked closer. Brand new locks. The brass was still shiny. I knocked. She opened the door about 4 inches, chain still on. "What are you doing here?" She didn't even pretend to be sad anymore. I said I'd be back to help with Dad's things. "Why doesn't my key work?" She smiled. Actually smiled. "Because this is my house now. Your father left everything to me. His widow, you get nothing." I stood there for a second, genuinely confused. "What are you talking about?" "The will, sweetie. I'm the sole beneficiary, the house, the accounts, everything. Your father loved me. Maybe if you'd visited more, things would be different." She started to close the door. "Wait," I said. "You might want to see something before you make any decisions you'll regret." "Decisions I'll regret?" She laughed. "Honey, the only thing I regret is putting up with you for 6 years. Now get off my property before I call the police." I pulled out my phone and opened my photos. Found the image I'd saved there 3 months ago. The deed transfer. Recorded and notarized. My name as sole owner of the property, effective immediately upon my father's death. "Actually," I said, holding it up to the gap in the door, "it's my property, and you have 24 hours to vacate it." Her face went through about 7 expressions in 3 seconds. Confusion, denial, recognition, fury. "That's fake." "Call the county recorder's office if you want, or call your lawyer. Either way, you're out of my house by this time tomorrow." I turned and walked back to my car. Behind me, I heard her screaming something about lawyers and fraud and how I'd regret this. 24 hours, clock's ticking. So, that was a wild 72 hours. First, thanks to everyone who commented. Yeah, I probably should have led with the deed thing, but honestly, part of me wanted to see her face when she realized. Is that petty? Maybe. Do I care? Not even a little. The 24-hour deadline came and went. Spoiler alert, she didn't leave. Instead, she lawyered up fast. By hour 20, I got a call from some attorney's office. Very aggressive paralegal telling me I was trespassing and harassing my stepmother, and that any attempt to enter the property would result in immediate legal action. I forwarded the call info to my own attorney. Dad's attorney, actually, the same one who'd helped with the deed transfer. He just sighed and said, "Expected this. We're ready." Here's what I learned. Dad had been more prepared than I knew. Not only had he transferred the deed to me, but he'd also updated his will specifically to exclude her from any claim to the house. The will stated that she would receive $10,000 in cash, the minimum to prevent her from contesting based on being forgotten. And that was it. Everything else, the house, his personal possessions, his retirement accounts, went to me. She didn't know about the will update. She'd been operating under an older version from 4 years ago that left her everything. Dad had quietly changed it 8 months before he died, right around when the hospice talk started. Day 2, my attorney sent a formal eviction notice. Proper legal channels, 30-day notice as required by state law. She wasn't a tenant, but she'd been living there, so we had to follow residential eviction procedures. Her response? She filed an emergency motion claiming the deed transfer was obtained through undue influence while my father was mentally incapacitated. This is where it gets good. Remember those hospital visits? The ones where she was conveniently absent? I wasn't the only one there. Dad's oncologist, 2 nurses, his primary care physician, and the hospital social worker all documented that my father was alert and oriented during his legal meetings. The attorney who handled the transfer had Dad evaluated by a third-party psychiatrist specifically to prevent this exact claim. There's a video of my father looking thin but completely lucid, explaining why he was making this decision. In the video, Dad says, and I'm quoting from memory, "My son has been my rock through this illness. My wife has been absent. I want my family home to go to my son, as his mother would have wanted." Her motion was denied in 4 days, but she still didn't leave. Day 3, things escalated. She called the cops on ME when I showed up to check on the property, told them I was some estranged relative trying to break in. 2 officers showed up while I was literally standing on the porch with the deed printout in my hand. One of them, younger guy, clearly didn't want to be there. The other one, older, asked to see documentation. I showed him the deed, showed him the court filing, showed him the denied motion. He looked at her. She was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, doing her best frightened woman act. "Ma'am," he said, "this man appears to be the legal property owner." "He's lying. That's a forged document." "Ma'am, he has court records. The courts are wrong." The younger cop's eyebrows shot up. The older one just sighed. "Sir," he said to me, "we can't force her out today without a sheriff's eviction order, but you can proceed through civil court." "Already in process," I said. He nodded, then turned to her. "Ma'am, I'd suggest you consult with your attorney about the legal situation here. Making false reports to police is a criminal offense." She slammed the door. The older cop shook his head slightly, handed me a case number for the incident report, and they left. That night, I got 17 texts from her. I didn't respond to any of them, just screenshot everything and sent it to my attorney. A few highlights. "Your father would be ashamed of you." "I gave him the best years of my life." "You're a monster. This is elder abuse." "I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are." Elder abuse. She's accusing me of elder abuse, the woman who went to a spa while her husband was in hospice, the woman who redecorated his bedroom while he was too weak to protest, the woman who told him she couldn't handle visiting the hospital because it was too depressing for her. My attorney says the eviction hearing is scheduled for next week. Until then, she's technically allowed to remain in the house. I hate it, but that's the law. Oh, and one more thing. Her sister called me yesterday. I'd always gotten along okay with her. She seemed like the reasonable one in that family. I know this is complicated, she said, but can you just give her a few more weeks? She's devastated. Losing her husband, now losing her home. She's had 6 years in that house, I said. She can have the legally required 30 days. Not a day more. You're being really cold about this. Your sister changed the locks on me a week after my father's funeral and told me I get nothing. I'm being exactly as warm as she deserves. She hung up on me. More updates coming after the court date. Court happened. Grab your popcorn. So the eviction hearing was scheduled for 9 a.m. last Thursday. I showed up in a suit, my attorney beside me, folder full of documentation. She showed up in all black, still playing the widow card, with her own attorney. Different guy than before. This one looked exhausted already. The judge was this no-nonsense woman in her 60s who clearly had zero patience for drama. Perfect. Her attorney opened with the undue influence argument again, even though it had already been denied. He threw in some new claims, too. That I had manipulated my father against his wife, that I had isolated him during his illness, that the deed transfer was part of a pattern of financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. My attorney stood up. Your Honor, I have hospital visitor logs, nursing notes, and video testimony from the deceased medical team. They show that my client visited his father 47. He paused, flipped a page. 52 times during his 14-month illness. The respondent visited 11 times. 9 of those 11 visits were under 30 minutes. Silence in the courtroom. I saw her jaw clench. The judge asked to review the visitor logs. Spent about 5 minutes going through them, then looked up. Counsel, your client visited her dying husband 11 times in 14 months? Her attorney shifted uncomfortably. Your Honor, my client has a documented condition that makes hospital environments. That wasn't my question. Yes, Your Honor, 11 times. The judge turned to her. Ma'am, I've reviewed the evidence. The deed transfer was properly executed, witnessed, and notarized. Your husband was evaluated by a psychiatrist the same day to confirm mental capacity. There is video evidence of him explaining his reasoning. Your motion claiming undue influence has already been denied by judge. Name withheld in this court. Do you have any new evidence to present? She stood up. Her attorney tried to stop her, but she pushed past him. Your Honor, I was his wife. I loved him. This boy... She pointed at me. He turned his father against me. He was always jealous of our relationship. He couldn't stand that his father was happy with me. Ma'am, please address the court through your attorney. I deserve that house. I decorated every room. I hosted every holiday. I was there when... Ma'am! The judge's voice was sharp. Sit down. She sat. Her face was red. Her attorney looked like he wanted to evaporate. The judge shuffled some papers. The petition for eviction is granted. The respondent has 14 days to vacate the premises. Any personal belongings not removed within that period may be disposed of by the property owner at his discretion. Court is adjourned. 14 days, not 30. The judge cut the timeline in half. Outside the courthouse, her attorney basically ran to his car. She stood on the steps, staring at me with pure hatred. You'll regret this, she said. I'll make sure of it. I didn't respond, just walked to my car. But here's where things got interesting. 3 days after the hearing, I got a call from my dad's bank. Someone had attempted to access his accounts using his death certificate and a forged power of attorney. The bank flagged it because the POA was dated after his death. Guess whose name was on the forged document? I didn't even have to do anything. The bank reported it themselves. It's now under investigation for attempted fraud. Meanwhile, she's been calling family members I haven't spoken to in years. Cousins, aunts, even my mom's brother, who I see maybe once every 5 years. All of them getting the same story. I'm a greedy, heartless son who threw his grieving stepmother out on the street. Most of them didn't even respond to her. A few called me to ask what was going on. I explained. They understood. But her sister? She went all in. posted this long thing on her social media about family betrayal and protecting widows from predatory stepchildren. Didn't name me directly, but anyone who knew the situation would recognize it. I didn't engage, didn't respond, didn't even acknowledge it. My attorney did, though. He sent her a cease and desist, pointed out that defamatory statements, even oblique ones, can be actionable when they're clearly about an identifiable person. She deleted the post within 24 hours. 14 days are almost up. I drove by the house yesterday, saw a moving truck in the driveway. She was loading boxes. Good. Tomorrow, I take my house back. It's over. Finally. The 14 days passed. I showed up on day 15 with my attorney, a locksmith, and a deputy sheriff, just in case. The house was empty. She'd taken everything that wasn't nailed down, furniture, appliances, even the light fixtures in 2 rooms. But she was gone. The locksmith changed the locks. I walked through my childhood home for the first time since my father died. It was strange. The walls were bare where family photos used to hang. The kitchen was gutted. No refrigerator, no microwave. Even the garbage disposal was gone. She unscrewed it from the sink. My old bedroom, which Dad had kept exactly as I left it for college, had been converted into her meditation room at some point. Crystals, incense holders, some kind of altar thing. All gone now, but the purple paint remained. I stood in my parents' bedroom for a long time. Dad's side of the closet was completely empty. She'd taken all his clothes. His reading glasses were gone. His robe, the worn blue one he'd had for 20 years, wasn't on the door hook. That's when it hit me. I sat on the floor and cried for about an hour. Not for the house, not for the stuff. For my dad. For the fact that he'd spent his final years with someone who didn't love him. For the 6 years I'd watched her slowly erase my mother's presence from this home. For every awkward holiday dinner, every pointed comment, every time she made him feel guilty for spending time with his own son. I pulled myself together eventually, called a restoration company to assess the damage. Turned out she'd also drained the water heater and left it running. Could have been a fire hazard. Stuffed raw shrimp into the heating vents. Classy. Changed the mail forwarding to her sister's address. Canceled all the utilities in Dad's name, which were still being auto-paid from his estate. The shrimp thing was bad. Had to hire a specialized cleaning crew. $2,800 for deep cleaning and vent replacement. My attorney added it to the list for small claims court. The fraud investigation at the bank moved forward. I gave a statement. Provided copies of the forged POA document. The investigator said it was a clear-cut case and charges were likely. 2 weeks after I reclaimed the house, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. You think you won? Her voice. Calm, controlled, creepy. How'd you get this number? You ruined my life. I gave 6 years to your father. I nursed him through his illness, and you threw me out like garbage. You visited him 11 times in 14 months. I have the hospital records. Silence. Those records are wrong. They're not. I loved him. Maybe, but you loved the house more, and now you have neither. She hung up. I blocked the number, documented the call, sent it to my attorney. He added it to the harassment file we were building. 3 weeks after that, I got a letter. Official court correspondence. She was suing me for breach of fiduciary duty and tortious interference with inheritance expectations. Her new claim? That my father had verbally promised her the house multiple times, and that I had unduly influenced him to break that promise. The lawsuit asked for the value of the house plus emotional damages. Total amount, $650,000. My attorney called me laughing. This is completely baseless, he said. She's representing herself, which tells you all you need to know. She already burned through 2 attorneys. The case was dismissed at the first hearing. The judge noted that verbal promises don't override recorded deeds and that inheritance expectations aren't a recognized cause of action in our state. She showed up to that hearing looking rough, hair unbrushed, clothes wrinkled. Her sister wasn't with her. Her attorney wasn't with her because she didn't have one anymore. After the judge dismissed the case, she tried to approach me in the hallway. The deputy stepped between us. "You did this to me," she said, her voice cracking. "I have nothing now, nowhere to go. Are you happy?" I looked at her, really looked, and I felt nothing. "You changed the locks on me 1 week after I buried my father. You told me I get nothing. You tried to steal from his estate. You put shrimp in my heating vents." I shook my head. "You did this to yourself." I left, haven't seen or heard from her since. As for the house, I've been renovating it slowly. Took down the purple paint in my old room, replaced the fixtures she stole, found a box in the attic that she missed. Old photo albums, my parents' wedding video, some of my mom's jewelry she'd hidden away. That box meant more to me than anything else in that house. The bank fraud charges went through. She's facing 2 counts of attempted fraud and 1 count of forgery. Her court date is next month. I don't plan to attend, but my attorney will be there to give a victim impact statement on behalf of the estate. Her sister tried one more time to reach out. Left me a voicemail saying her sister was truly sorry and ready to apologize if I would just drop the charges. I can't drop criminal charges. That's not how it works. And even if I could, I wouldn't. The house is mine now. For real. I walk through the rooms and I see my parents, my real parents, everywhere. Mom making breakfast in that kitchen. Dad teaching me to ride a bike in that driveway. Both of them sitting on that porch, drinking coffee on Sunday mornings. Those memories are what she tried to take from me. She tried to erase my family from our own home and then act like she deserved it. She gambled. She lost. And now she gets to deal with the consequences. I'm not angry anymore. Not really. I'm just done. Dad always said, "Actions have consequences, son. Make sure yours are ones you can live with." I can live with mine. She's going to have to live with hers. The end. Since some of you are asking, yes, I'm keeping the house. Not selling it. Already talked to a contractor about restoring it to how it looked when I was a kid. Going to take time, but it's worth it.
More great content is coming. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out.